nice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll.
Good morning, Matt.
Hi, Rob, and welcome everyone to another episode of Dungeon Master of None.
That's right. I'm Dungeon Master Rob, as Matt just told you.
And I'm Matt, and we're continuing to chug along as the one D&D train moves ever more slowly towards its inexorable station.
It's really trundling along. It's we're pretty goodly amount into the playtest, and we have a handful of classes, a little bit about species, and I don't know, bits and pieces. And I gotta say, it also seems like real one step forward, two steps back kind of thing with a lot of these 1D&D updates, because they continue to make changes to the fundamental way that it's going to work. We'll talk about how this is reflected in the Druid and Paladin, which is what we're talking about today. But it does not feel like we are making brisk progress towards a new edition, Matt. How does it feel to you?
Yeah, it might just be the format of doing things piecemeal. For D&D Next, for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, playtests were released in kind of complete chunks where most or all of the materials were put forward. And I feel like it gives people less time to moan and quake and a better sense of the game. You can actually play test it. I was starting a new campaign, and I was like, oh, maybe I should use some of the playtest materials. I'm like, yeah, but it's only half of the shit. So yeah, it just feels very hard to actually playtest.
I guess if you had a player that you knew wanted to play one of the classes that's in the playtest and one of the subclasses, you could, but it still feels kind of incomplete. It still feels like there's some things that are not, that you don't really have everything that you would necessarily want if you were a player who wanted to be a new 1D&D Paladin or a 1D&D Druid. I don't know. I don't quite get this approach, but I don't know. I'm already super critical of this, so I'm not gonna go too hard. I'm sure there's a reason for it.
The thing that I think you would want is, okay, maybe it's fine to release these piece by piece so you can give a little more attention to detail, but then I think you would still want a year of playtesting with the complete material out. And right now we're on a schedule to finish sometime in the year 2023 or at the end of the year 2023. And if their goal is still to release this updated edition in 2024 for the 50th anniversary, that's you don't have that year.
It feels, yeah. I guess we have a whole year for more playtest materials, but at the rate that they're going, there's just a lot of stuff that needs to be released and play tested. And if they, I don't know. Let's jump into the Druid and the Paladin, because I have one specific thing that I want to highlight as particularly alarming to me that I think Matt will agree about. But sorry, that makes it sound like it's all bad. It's not all bad, but there is one thing that I find very concerning regarding just the whole playtest and the trajectory that we're on. But what have we got here, Matt? What did we get?
Right.
This was released a week ago. It's now March 5th. But yeah, a week ago we got the updated classes for the Druid and Paladin and a single subclass for both.
Right, so we've completed the priest group. So now we have two complete class groups, priests and experts. And there's a lot of updates to the Druid and Paladin, some updates to some spells, and a tiny retro update to the cleric. And that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we're talking about broad things, and then I'm really curious what the thing you have that I might agree with is is that a lot of people are like, is this a new edition? Is this an update? Like, to me, the fundamentals of 5th edition, for all the people who say this is like a radical change or it's not backwards compatible, or I don't really know what they mean by that, is like, this is basically the same game, right? This is, and Wizards has said as much, this is like a 5.5 edition. Like, now that we have a bigger, clearer picture, not much in the big scheme of things is changing. And like, for me, the only thing that like really matters is if I want to use an adventure from Candlekeep Mysteries that I liked, or eventually like run Dungeon of the Mad Mage or Call of the Netherdeep, can I run it? And the answer, from what I've seen so far, seems to be yes, right? Nothing that fundamental is changing where you can't use old adventures.
No, and I have seen some people point out specific instances of spells or abilities that are not backwards compatible, that do not work with the rules as written. I have already forgotten them, as you can tell, so I don't know how significant they are. It is the kind of, I don't want to downplay that though, because your players may care more than you, and I often run games for players who try to trip me up on these things, either because they're jerks or just because that's how they are. Like, they're not always trying to be assholes, but like, they're, well, what about this? So like, I don't want to make it sound like it doesn't matter if there are rules that are incompatible, but Matt's right that there's not really anything that's gonna stop you from running an older module with these 1D&D things. But there are some, I would call them friction points, some areas where things don't quite work as well as I would like. So let's talk about the Druid as a specific example. Now, there's a big thing about the Druid that Matt and I are going to have to talk about in detail, which is wild shape. But before we get to that, I want to talk about channel nature.
It seems like from the design perspective, okay, all experts get expertise. Now all priest class get a channel ability. Channel divinity for the cleric and paladin. It's channel nature for the druid.
I understand the purpose behind this. However, you can only use channel nature right now to wild shape, so it just feels like an extra step. Like, I've given you channel, here's channel nature, but all you can do is use a use of channel nature to wild shape.
Well, when you get to second level, you can use healing blossoms and wild companion.
Right.
At first level, for new players, right, it probably feels like an extra step. You have this ability called channel nature. What does it do? Well, it does one thing, wild shape. You don't get the extra abilities until second level. It feels like a weird gating of stuff where it's like, well, I mean, it's you're only denying people these abilities for a single level. Is that really worth it? Is that worth having 2 entries? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I understand this. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if this is good or bad. I do want to sort of like pause here though. I want to read this design note that's in the playtest. So this is a little box, a sidebar that says, design note, uses of channel divinity / nature. In the previous Unearthed Arcana, the cleric's version of channel divinity offered a number of uses equal to a character's proficiency bonus. That number is too generous for a multi-class character, who could take only 1 level in the cleric and then get ever-increasing uses as the character gains levels in another class. In the Druid and Paladin, we have therefore given channel divinity and channel nature a number of uses tied to the class, rather than proficiency bonus. When we release the next version of the cleric, you'll see a similar treatment there. We will also address multi-classing issues in other classes when we revisit them. So, this is...
This is the tiny tweak to the cleric that we got here.
Yeah. So this is the thing that gives me pause.
Gives you pause? No, Rob, that's the wild shape feature that gives you pause. Okay. But seriously, folks, thanks for listening to our free preview of our premium episode on the Druid and the Paladin. Head over to patreon.com/Dungeon Master of None to hear the rest of our takes on the latest 1D&D UA. Plus, we crack open the mailbag to answer your letters on adding diversity, managing and encouraging player-run factions, and dealing with some tricky rules clarifications. As always, Thanks for listening, and thank you for your support.